Amidst the blood-soaked chaos of 1935, an arrow pierces the altar. But instead of destruction, it unleashes an indescribable light that transforms hardened soldiers into believers. In that extraordinary moment, hope and faith collide on the battlefield of Asti, creating bonds that transcend enmity and fear. But what does this miraculous encounter truly mean for those who dared to witness it? To understand how faith illuminated their darkest hour, we must journey back to the beginning. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. Smoke hung heavy in the air, swirling through the remnants of a battlefield where lives had been irrevocably altered. It was 1935 in Asti, Italy, a town caught in the brutal grip of war. The cacophony of gunfire echoed off the crumbling walls, drowning out prayers whispered by those clinging to the hope of survival. Soldiers in worn uniforms dodged bullets, their faces drawn tight with fear and determination. Amid the chaos, a lone figure stood resolute at the altar, a priest dressed in white, his presence a beacon of solace against the turmoil. Father Maximus raised the chalice high, his voice rising above the din of despair. He was surrounded by a handful of soldiers, huddled close, faces pale and drawn. "This is my body, given up for you," he proclaimed, the words reverberating in the hearts of those gathered. The moment was suspended in time, a fragile connection to the divine, when suddenly the air crackled with an extraordinary energy. An arrow, seemingly fired from nowhere, soared toward the altar with horrifying speed. It pierced the luminous Eucharist, and in that instant, a miracle unfolded. The arrow struck with a resounding thud, yet it did not destroy the sacred host. Instead, a brilliant light erupted, saturating the battlefield in its divine glow. Soldiers halted mid-step, eyes widening in disbelief as an otherworldly radiance enveloped them. The invading forces, momentarily blinded by the light, stumbled back, shields of disbelief shattered before the miraculous display. Awe and trepidation overshadowed their aggression, creating an unexpected stillness. Father Maximus, momentarily startled, felt a surge of strength. The words of the Mass laced with the divine presence echoed in his mind. "Lord, have mercy." As the light intensified, it illuminated the defenders of Asti. A wave of renewed hope surged through their ranks. The harsh reality of war faded as the soldiers stood transfixed, surrendering their animosities to the sheer power of faith materialized before them. In that fleeting moment, amid the chaos of conflict, peace reigned. The awestruck soldiers on both sides understood they were witnesses to something beyond the comprehension of their earthly struggles. It was not merely a confrontation of armies, but a divine intervention on the battlefield, granting respite amidst the horror surrounding them. For 3 days, silence prevailed where once the screams of war echoed. Men who stood poised to kill found themselves clasping their weapons in reverence, eyes fixated on the wondrous light emanating from the Eucharist. History would later recount these moments, how fear transformed into bewilderment, creating an unusual camaraderie among men defined by their enmity just hours before. They latently forged bonds of humanity as they contemplated the meaning of the light, understanding that something profoundly sacred had transpired. It remained a mystery to them, an invitation to reconsider their choices, beliefs, and the lives they were living. Yet, this was not merely a local event bound to the pages of history. These miraculous occurrences would resonate far beyond the confines of a solitary battlefield in Asti. The stories of conversion swelled, and soldiers returned home forever marked by the light they had witnessed. Men built cathedrals, rekindled faith, and spread tales of the luminous Eucharist that pierced through the darkness of war. They would remember this moment not as a day of violence, but as a day of profound peace and divine intervention. Back in the shadow of the altar, as the last vestiges of that heavenly glow began to fade, an inner resolve coursed through Father Maximus. The battle was far from over, but he understood that faith could change the tide. He stepped away from the altar, his heart racing with the conviction that this encounter must not be forgotten. As he turned to address the weary soldiers clinging to hope in their souls, he knew the significance of this miracle extended beyond their fleeting confrontation. But who would remember this miracle? Who would carry forth the story of the luminous Eucharist that pierced the hearts of hardened men? The future would hold many questions, but this miraculous encounter had marked the beginning of a journey toward both truth and healing. Little did they know, their lives would one day intersect with a boy named Carlo Acutis, who would piece together the story and breathe life into the lessons of faith forged amidst the turmoil of war. For as the dust settled on the battlefield of Asti, the light flickered in the hearts of men, igniting a flame that would echo through generations to come. As dawn broke on the fourth day, the scene painted across the battlefield resembled something divine. The chaos of war had receded, leaving in its wake an extraordinary silence that enveloped the land. The luminous Eucharist, still resting on the altar, flickered like a beacon amidst the remnants of conflict. The soldiers, once divided by hatred and duty, now wandered among the ruins, their eyes drawn not to war, but to hope. While the heat of the sun slowly chased away the morning mist, the Eucharist shone brightly, casting a warm glow that illuminated weary faces and tired hearts. It was as if the light had seeped into their very souls, igniting a spark of understanding and unity. Some soldiers kneeled, hands clasped in prayer, while others stood quietly, their past encounters with violence overshadowed by the miracle they had witnessed. They spoke in hushed tones, their voices woven with a sense of reverence and wonder. "Did you see it?" said one soldier, his eyes wide. "It blinded me. I've never known such light." "I thought I'd seen it all on the battlefield," another replied. "But this was different. This was holy." In the midst of their disbelief, a subtle transformation began to unfold. The enemies now shared more than a battlefield. They shared a moment of profound revelation. The soldiers from opposing sides glanced at one another, gesturing as if to convey a promise unspoken, a commitment to remember the light that had touched their souls. These men, once bent on destruction, began to exchange stories of their lives, realizing how similar they were underneath their uniforms. As the sun progressed in the sky, a ceasefire had not just taken hold, but the air felt heavier with a shared understanding. The details of their backgrounds emerged, fathers and brothers speaking of families back home, of hopes and dreams eclipsed by war. They set aside their weapons, if only for a moment, their hearts swelling with an unexpected kinship. They sat together on patches of grass, forming a circle around the altar that now cradled the miraculous Eucharist, an emblem of peace in a war-torn land. Over 3 days, this tenuous bond flourished. Soldiers set aside their grievances and animosities. They wove together a tapestry of experiences and emotions, realizing that they were not just pawns in a game of war, but men with lives intertwined in the greater fabric of humanity. The sight of the Eucharist, sustained by some otherworldly power, cast all else aside. Father Maximus ventured among them, offering words of comfort, encouragement, and understanding. "This is a gift," he said, his voice steady and reassuring. "The light we see is a message. It calls on each of us to rise above this hate." On the 3rd day, a decision emerged from the ranks of soldiers. They would bring in their leaders, an act of courage representing their informal ceasefire. They sent messengers to both sides, inviting the commanders to witness the light. When the leaders arrived, they were met with astonishment. As they gathered around the altar, they found men of different backgrounds and beliefs united by a common experience. The luminous Eucharist drew them in, transforming the bitterness between them into something recognizable, a profound longing for peace and understanding. The generals, framed against the bright glow, exchanged glances filled with uncertainty, their beliefs tested by the marvel before them. "Nobody wins when lives are lost," one of the commanders finally spoke, breaking the suffocating silence. "Perhaps we can find another way." In that moment, the divine presence of the Eucharist served as a catalyst for dialogue. What began as an unholy conflict began to shift toward the possibility of peace and negotiation. The soldiers broke bread together, sharing their rations while recognizing the significance of their light-filled encounter. It was more than sustenance. It was a symbol of their collective humanity, an invitation to transcend the bounds of enmity. As the days turned into nights, the once barren battlefield transformed into a sanctuary of stories and experiences shared under the soft glow of the Eucharist. The sacred moment had etched itself into their souls, binding them together in love greater than the hatred that had motivated them. They gathered around the altar to celebrate Mass, invoking strength and unity as they prayed for healing, not just of bodies, but of hearts and minds. The luminous Eucharist continued to radiate hope, casting away despair. But as the war resumed its painful rhythm, the question loomed: would the light they had witnessed endure? In the hands of the soldier who had once aimed his weapon at his neighbor, a flicker of longing remained. He had witnessed the possibility of a different path, a chance to live a life defined not by war, but by faith and love. Amid these reflections, the day ambled towards twilight. The soldiers returned to their posts, fortified in spirit, but uncertainty lingered in the air. Would their moment of peace stand against the tides of fate? Would they carry the message of the miraculous light with them back to their encampments, or would they slip back into the shadows of conflict? Their hearts had glimpsed heaven, but not every battle leads to the skies, and the hearts which bore the light must also bear the burden of its absence. The future of Asti hung delicately in the balance, poised on the edge of hope and despair. The echoes of this extraordinary encounter would linger in the annals of history, gifted to those who might trace the steps back to a boy named Carlo Acutis, who, years later, would uncover their story with faith anew. In 2005, a boy named Carlo Acutis sat cross-legged on the floor of his room in Milan, Italy. The clattering sounds of the city outside mixed with a symphony of thoughts racing through his mind, swirling around in a world filled with extraordinary wonders and profound mysteries. Only 15 years old, he was already deeply engaged in the pursuit of faith, finding solace in stories woven into the tapestry of history. Among those tales, he was particularly captivated by the miraculous events surrounding the Eucharist. His room was a haven, filled with books covering every inch of available space, each a portal leading him through time, allowing him to discover instances of divine intervention that had unfolded throughout history. Carlo was drawn to accounts of miraculous transformations, healings, and moments where the ordinary became extraordinary. He envisioned himself as a bridge connecting the past with the present, and it was the miracle of Asti, a luminous Eucharist shining brightly despite being pierced by an arrow, that consumed most of his thoughts. "Look, Mom," he exclaimed one afternoon, waving a book in the air, "I found a story about a Eucharist that didn't just glow, it changed lives." His mother looked up from her kitchen, a warm smile illuminating her face. "You're quite the historian, Carlo. You have a unique gift for uncovering beauty in the past, even amid darkness." He brimmed with enthusiasm, dashing over to the kitchen table, where he began to spread maps and notes like pieces of a puzzle yet to be solved. The Battle of Asti resonated deeply within him. What power did faith hold to transform lives, even in the midst of chaos? The ordinary became extraordinary within his heart, and he yearned to uncover how that moment of divine grace had altered the fates of those who witnessed it. Carlo immersed himself in research, reaching out to local historians who meticulously documented the events of that fateful battle. He learned how the miraculous light had inspired soldiers on the battlefield and illuminated the hearts of those who had walked in darkness. The stories unveiled how lives were transformed. Those who once bore arms with hatred now wielded faith, hope, and an unwavering belief in love. With tireless dedication, Carlo collected testimonies from survivors, recounting how many had returned home not just as soldiers, but as witnesses to something profound. He transcribed these interviews with painstaking care, ensuring that every word reflected the reverence and gravity that the stories deserved. Each tale of conversion was a thread weaving into a larger narrative, enhancing his understanding of how a single moment of divine light could ripple through generations. But Carlo didn't stop there. He sought out the precise location of the battlefield and the chapel that had been built in honor of the miracle. Equipped with his notebook and a backpack, he set out on a quest to Asti. The memories of the battlefield ignited as he stood before the chapel, built to honor the Eucharist's light. It felt as though the whispers of the soldiers were carried on the evening breeze, wrapping around him like an unseen embrace, beckoning him towards understanding. Kneeling before the preserved Eucharist in the Cathedral of Asti, Carlo closed his eyes and felt the weight of history resting upon his shoulders. As he absorbed the atmosphere, images flooded his mind. Visions of the soldiers still bound by the chains of past conflicts, now yearning for redemption and peace. Here, in the miraculous light, he felt a connection that transcended time. With renewed vigor, Carlo focused intently on capturing and documenting the miracle of the Eucharist for future generations. Inspired by the accounts he gathered, he organized exhibitions filled with photographs, personal testimonies, and artifacts, aiming to spread awareness and hope derived from the miraculous light. His mother, always his staunch supporter, stood by his side, nurturing his dreams while encouraging him to share the stories of those who had once known despair. In classrooms, community events, and churches, Carlo inspired people to reflect on the messages of peace and love embedded within the stories he unearthed. These are not just ancient tales, he rallied passionately. They are timeless reminders of what we can achieve through faith. His voice resonated, echoing within souls longing for a sense of purpose and connection. The captivating saga of the luminous Eucharist ignited sparks of belief in the power of divine intervention. News of his efforts spread rapidly, inspiring local communities to cultivate initiatives founded on love, forgiveness, and unity. A movement was born. What began as the curiosity of a boy grew into a collective awakening, as many joined Carlo's cause, hungry for inspiration derived from easy hope. With each presentation he made, Carlo's enthusiasm was infectious, breathing life into the hearts of those who felt lost. When classmates expressed doubts about faith or questioned the significance of miracles, he remained unwavering. Carlo persisted with kindness and compassion, answering their questions with authenticity and sincerity, quoting the same soldiers he studied, "For where there is light, there is hope." Despite his own diagnosis, Carlo emanated positivity, sharing the light that had once illuminated the battlefield. His unwavering faith became a balm for those around him, sparking dialogues that revolved around living with intention and purpose. His journey intertwined with that of the soldiers from Asti, effectively remapping the miracles of the past into a renewed emphasis on love during troubled times. As days turned into weeks, Carlo became a local beacon of hope, often likened to a modern-day saint. People would describe how the warmth of his spirit swept through their lives, reviving their sense of faith when it felt most difficult to hold on. Each shared story of the luminous Eucharist rekindled connections and illuminated aspirations tethered deep within, breaking free from the shadows of doubt. Yet, as his health began to decline, Carlo's tenacity kept him connected with his community. Even amidst the overwhelming challenges brought on by leukemia, he encouraged others to embrace forgiveness and empathy, reminding them that the journey of faith was not always easy, but always worthwhile. He reminded them that the light of the Eucharist shines in even the darkest circumstances. Each time he told the story of Asti's miracle, Carlo infused hope into the hearts of his listeners, inspiring them to carry forth the torch of faith and understanding. They began to understand how closely intertwined their stories were with the stories of those who had lived through the miraculous encounter on the battlefield. As he conveyed the significance of the Eucharist's rite, he found strength in knowing that these stories could unite broken lives. Little did they know, as Carlo's life drew to a close, a new story was just beginning. Every lesson they learned from him echoed the narrative written by the miraculous light, one full of love, resilience, and the promise of redemption. The interconnections of past and present would flourish as his legacy imbued future generations with hope, a turning point that transcended the complexities of war, loss, and suffering to reveal the transformative power of faith, a beacon for all who would carry forth the message born in the light of Asti. As Carlo Acutis continued to share the story of the luminous Eucharist and the miraculous events of Asti, his health began to deteriorate further, yet his spirit remained unyielded. Each day he found strength not in his body, but in the connections he forged with those around him. The beauty of community enveloped him, affirming what he had tirelessly advocated: faith, compassion, and the profound power of shared stories. One crisp autumn day in Milan, Carlo invited a group of local historians to his modest home. Eager to piece together every fragment of the tale he cherished, he wanted to understand how the fierce battle fought in Asti had transcended time. He believed the miraculous light that pierced through the chaos could inspire faith and resilience in others, and he aimed to weave that narrative into his community's consciousness. The historians gathered, each bringing with them treasures of the past, old photos, yellowed letters, and hand-drawn maps depicting the battlefield where hope had emerged from despair. They spread the documents across Carlo's table, transforming the space into a vibrant hub of exploration. As they sifted through details and anecdotes, their discussions turned animated, infused with ideas about how to present the stories that shaped the lives of countless souls. This miracle didn't just stop at the battlefield, it set off a chain reaction of faith, Carlo mused, his fingers tracing the contours of the maps laid before him. Each person who witnessed the light became a vessel of its message. We need to capture that in our work. It must reach as many people as possible. His enthusiasm ignited a fire among the historians. They became inspired by the boy whose spirit seemed to shine brighter than his fading health. They brainstormed ideas, sketching out plans for an exhibition that would honor not only the miracle of the Eucharist, but also the soldiers who had transformed their lives amidst conflict and turmoil. Carlo reached out to local photographers, artists, and students, unequally passionate about the message they sought to convey. "Art can speak where words fall short," he told them during one planning session. "It can convey emotions and touch souls." He encouraged them to immerse themselves in the heart of the story they were about to tell, urging them to create pieces that encapsulated the essence of hope and redemption. As the exhibition took shape, Carlo's body continued to weaken, but his spirit shone with undiminished brilliance. Each meeting was a testament to his unwavering commitment. He would attend planning sessions from his bed, trailing a blanket behind him, holding documents aloft like banners of victory. He infused energy into everyone around him, compelling them to push forward and realize their vision of a brighter future. The day of the exhibition launch dawned, bringing with it a whirlwind of energy that rippled through the community. People from all walks of life gathered at the venue. Some had heard Carlo speak, others stumbled upon the event from curiosity. Each attended with their own narratives, aspirations, and dreams interwoven through the fabric of their lives. As visitors moved through the gallery space, they were captivated by photographs that captured the radiant light, accounts of soldiers who had found peace in the chaos, and how that luminous moment transcended mere history. Displays depicted the transformation of lives, interweaving themes of faith and humanity, showcasing the legacy of peace forged under the blessed gaze of the Eucharist. Every moment was imbued with power, each piece of art resonating deeply in the hearts of attendees. Artistic renderings of the event illuminated the soldiers' astonishment at witnessing a wonder that altered their fates. Many felt as if they were transported back to the battlefield, where love and faith triumphed over despair. Throughout the exhibition, vibrant conversations sparked new ideas and reflections. People began to share their experiences, battles fought within their own lives, echoing the essence of resilience seen in the stories of Asti. "This is more than just a story," someone exclaimed during a discussion panel. "It's a reminder that light can shine even in our darkest moments." From the front row, Carlo gazed at the faces lighting up around him, his heart swelling with joy. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment wash over him. The miracle he cherished had transcended his own experience and had blossomed into a collective movement that inspired hope and nurtured faith among all present. As the event began to wind down, he felt himself called to the stage, the inviting glow of the podium awaiting him like an ancient altar. The room fell silent, the audience hanging on his every word. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice steady despite the gravity of his illness hovering around him. "Today we honor the light that shone over the battlefield in Asti. We honor the soldiers whose lives were transformed, and those among you who continue to carry forth the divine message of hope. My wish is that each one of you becomes a light for others." As Carlo shared his heartfelt words, the attendees felt an undeniable connection to him and to each other. It was as though he embodied the spirit of unity he championed, the miracle serving as a testament to resilience, faith, and love. In that moment, he sensed the depth of their shared stories and the echoes of the luminous Eucharist resonating within their collective experiences. As the applause swelled around him, enveloping him in a comforting embrace, Carlo understood he had brought forth a powerful birth of belief in those gathered. Their eyes reflected the flickering warmth of the flame ignited within them, and he felt confident they would continue to carry forth the message of courage, faith, and love in their own lives. In the follow-up weeks, the effects of the exhibition rippled through the community. People began initiating acts of kindness, fostering a renewed dedication to service, echoing the lessons of hope inherited from the stories of Asti. They interwove the message of faith into the fabric of their daily lives. Many sought to understand how to bridge the gaps between past struggles and present resolutions. Little did they know, the journey did not end here. Each person would go forth, carrying their own light, prepared to face future challenges with courage and grace. Carlo's heart swelled with fulfillment, knowing he had created a thriving legacy. The miracle of the Eucharist, born in suffering, would continue to flourish as it reverberated through time. Through that legacy of light, the transformative power of faith would endure. Carlo Acutis had become a beacon of hope, and through him, the stories of Asti flourished. Every life he touched became a new chapter in a tale woven with purpose. Together, they would bear witness to the light, guiding others through the shadows, ensuring that the message born in the light of Asti would illuminate the path for generations yet to come. As the weeks turned into months, Carlo Acutis's health continued to decline. Yet the impact of his journey and the stories of the luminous Eucharist resonated ever more strongly within his community. He became synonymous with hope, a relentless reminder of the light he had spent his life illuminating. In the final months of his battle with leukemia, Carlo embraced the delicate intersection of suffering and faith, recognizing it as a profound pilgrimage of the soul. On one particularly quiet afternoon, Carlo found himself seated in a small chapel, the walls steeped in history, prayer, and whispered reverence. Soft rays of sunlight streamed through stained glass, casting a dazzling array of colors upon the worn wooden pews. As he looked around, he felt the presence of those who had come before him, the saints, soldiers, and everyday believers who had known the transformative power of the Eucharist. Kneeling before the altar, he closed his eyes and reflected on the journey of the soldiers of Asti. The miraculous light that had shone upon them in battle echoed within his own struggle. "Lord," he whispered, "let me be a vessel of your grace. Show me the way to share this light with those who are lost." In those quiet moments, he sensed a gentle prompting within, a call to share his own encounter with the Eucharist more profoundly. He began to cultivate his thoughts into a final testament, a deeply personal exploration of faith that would resonate with those who needed it most. Carlo envisioned a small book that would intertwine his own story with the historical accounts of the Eucharistic miracle, emphasizing the importance of hope, love, and resilience during times of turmoil. With the help of his family and friends, he set to work, dictating his thoughts on paper, even as fatigue weighed heavily on him. He wanted to ensure that anyone who struggled with their faith could grasp the beauty of divine light and the peace found within it. "The Eucharist is a reminder that we are never alone," he penned. "In our darkest moments, when we feel lost, we can turn to Him and find our way back to love." As Carlo worked, he poured his heart into every page, recounting the stories of the soldiers and the transformative impact of the miraculous light. He emphasized how each of them discovered a renewed sense of purpose, how they embraced empathy for each other, and how faith became their guiding force amidst chaos. He wanted his words to be a bridge for those who sought solace in their own struggles, an invitation to discover the divine presence in their lives. Despite the physical pain and exhaustion that accompanied his illness, Carlo's spirit remained undaunted. His family surrounded him, offering encouragement and support when he faltered. "You are inspiring so many," his mother would often remind him, brushing the hair from his forehead as she sat by his bedside. His friends frequently visited, read with him, and shared laughter. They infused emotional fortitude into the quiet sanctuary of his room. As his health continued to wane, Carlo's joy seemed to deepen. He appreciated the simplest moments, the laughter of friends, the beauty of the morning light, and the feeling of love that filled the air. His friends and family witnessed this transformation, marveling at how deeply he embraced life, even as he faced death. It served as a reminder that love and faith did not know boundaries, that even in final moments the light could shine. One crisp afternoon, with leaves swirling outside the window like dancers in a gentle breeze, Carlo finally completed his book. He held it in his hands, reflecting on the journey and the messages he hoped to pass to the world. It was not just a testament to his personal faith, but a call to everyone who felt lost or alone. It was an invitation to embrace the light of the Eucharist, to find strength in each other, and to believe in the extraordinary even in the face of adversity. With commitment and determination, Carlo insisted that the book be published. "It needs to be shared," he insisted to his family. "They need to know they're never alone." His family rallied around him, enthusiastic about carrying forth his wish. They sought out publishers, and soon enough plans came together to share Carlo's powerful testament of faith with the world. As the news about his book spread, Carlo felt a surge of joy. It was as if his spirit was being released into the world, a final message of love and unity, a reminder that when faith shines brightly, it can illuminate the path for countless others. Many began sharing the stories he had crafted with tears in their eyes, echoing his message of hope, and finding themselves inspired to make a difference through their own actions. Carlo remained steadfast in his beliefs, speaking to those who came to visit, sharing his insights about faith, healing, and the miracle of the Eucharist. "The light reflects in our hearts," he would say, his voice soft yet firm, "and it can guide us if only we let it." His words became a lifeline to many who were struggling with their own faith, a reminder that love, kindness, and compassion could triumph even amidst suffering. As the seasons changed, Carlo's health began to decline more rapidly. Still, he held on to hope, knowing that the legacy he had crafted would serve as both a reminder and a call to action for those left behind. He had woven together the threads of history, his own struggle, and the beautiful message of the Eucharist into something greater than himself. In his final days, filled with tenderness and light, he found contentment knowing he had offered the world a piece of his heart. He had become that beacon of hope, a testament to the everlasting light that faith could provide. And as he lay in his bed, comforted by the love of his family and the memories of laughter and shared stories, he felt the luminous Eucharist envelop him in peace, guiding him toward the love that awaited him in eternity. Carlo Acutis had become a vessel of light, and his story, a beautiful tapestry of faith, would forever resonate within the hearts of those who sought its glow, lighting the way for generations to find their own path toward hope and unity. A truly deserved lesson. If you agree, please like this video and subscribe for more stories. And tell us what you thought in the comments.